Spread the fire, feed the mind. Welcome to an SMWX hot take. And what is the hot take on? It's on the question of, is the media shadow banning Jacob Zuma? Is the media shadow banning Jacob Zuma? Why do I say this? Why do I bring this up? Today, we got a statement from the ENCA for immediate release, it says. It has come to the attention of the management of ENCA that rumors have been circulating on social media that an interview between JJ Tabane and ex-president Jacob Zuma will be broadcast tonight. Then they say, forget about it. Khohlwa ngalento. The statements were not sanctioned by the ENCA. The interview cannot be broadcast tonight as it is so close to the elections. For this reason, all current affairs programs, including Power to Truth, have been cancelled this week. Cancelled! So they're taking the plug out of JJ's. You know what happened? They've been advertising this interview on ENCA. I don't watch news all the time, but I saw people on social media saying that this was being advertised. And this statement seems peculiar considering the fact that they've been advertising this thing. Let me finish the statement, then I'll dive in. ENCA cannot advance the interest of any one political party over another. If the interview was broadcast, all other political parties would need to be given equivalent airtime, which is impossible at this stage. I don't know if that's true or not. ENCA will be complying with all of its regulatory obligations, prohibiting it from broadcasting such interviews less than 48 hours before the election. No interviews with anyone representing a political party will be broadcast until after the election. ENCA favors no political party over any other, and failure to broadcast the interview has nothing whatsoever. Nothing. I have nothing. Nothing. You remember that song by Whitney Houston? Whatsoever to do with the fact that it involved ex-President Zuma and his MK Party. Do you believe that? Do you believe that? Now, that's what they said. And then I thought maybe they're right. I'm going to check the regulations. I'm going to respond to the regulatory question. But this is what then happened. On Newsroom Africa, then they said the following, not to be missed. Xoli Mgambi in conversation with former ANC president and head of state Thabo Mbeki about, among others, the party's election campaign and 30 years of ANC governance in South Africa. Road to Vote 2024, hashtag Newsroom 405. This is happening tonight, the same day that ENCA said that they are not broadcasting the Jacob Zuma interview because it's too close to the election. Newsroom Africa is broadcasting Thabo Mbeki's interview 2 days before the election. And just 24 hours ago, 72 hours before the election, President Cyril Ramaphosa used the presidential platform, which was broadcast on all of the platforms. Did ENC also broadcast that thing? Guys, did ENC also broadcast the Ramaphosa address? Because I saw it on SABC. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. SABC broadcast President Ramaphosa's address. When they made the announcement, I thought, hey, there's something serious going on. We've been hearing about intelligence reports and intelligence issues. And as a result of that, we're going to be having an intelligence assessment because, as you recall, the presidency puts state security under his direct supervision. I was expecting that. Instead, what we got was simply a campaign speech from President Cyril Ramaphosa 72 hours before the election. Jacob Zuma has already been complaining that the media has not been giving him as much coverage as they've been giving other political parties. I think he is correct to say that. And I think anybody who has been watching mainstream media is correct to make the assessment that media houses have actually been shadow banning. You know, on Twitter, if you say problematic things for too long and too many people complain about your account, they shadow ban your account, which is to say you won't be able to see that they are slowing down your traffic, but your content will no longer be seen in the same way, in the same extent. This is what it seems has happened to Jacob Zuma. This contradiction between the position of Newsroom Africa and the position of ENCA leads me to believe that there's room for interpretation to this particular regulation. But I went to check the regulation myself, and here's what it says. Here's what the section says. right? I'm going to this section about the 48 hours. Give me 1 second. I need to find this 48-hour thing. Where's that thing? I was looking at it just now. Right, election broadcast period. The election broadcast period means the period which party election broadcasts may be transmitted. Such period commencing 120 hours after the allocation of time slots by the authority and ending 48 hours before the polling commences. This is not about interviews. This is about time slots that have been dedicated to parties that will be paid for by the parties. It's got nothing to do with interviews. So when ENCA is making the statement that they are actually just adhering to the code, I actually think that their interpretation of the code is overly narrow, and in administrative law we call this fettering through rigidity, which is to say an overly strict interpretation and application of the rule to the detriment actually of the beneficiaries of that particular rule. I actually think that at the point at which President Cyril Ramaphosa did the interview, they should have actually allowed all of the other party leaders to have the same access to media platforms, because he's in a window period of campaigning. When Rishi Sunak made the announcement that they are about to enter into election cycle for the UK, guess what they do there? He had to take down the sticker that says Prime Minister, that logo. He had to take it down. Then they have to close Parliament within like 10 days, right? They have to close all of the business of Parliament so that everyone campaigns as equals. We don't do that in South Africa, but the principle, I think, should apply in the same way. At the point at which President Ramaphosa was afforded that opportunity, everyone should have been afforded that opportunity. But here's something that seems to undermine the credibility of the ENCA narrative. The credibility is undermined because they advertised this interview. They advertised it. Then something happened, and JJ Tabane was told they're no longer gonna, broadcast that episode. Then he said he was gonna do it anyway. From what I've been told, he said he was gonna let people hear that 2-hour interview, and then all of a sudden we get this statement. So it indicates to a degree that there's a tension between ENCA, JJ Tabane, and some of the things that he had asked for in terms of editorial privilege. And I remember when he did an interview with SMWX, he said that they allow him to do what he wants to do with his show. It looks as if this incident was one of those incidents where they said, listen, we're not going to allow you to do whatever you want. Does allowing a politician to speak 48 hours before an election influence people? I don't think so, not necessarily, especially if you haven't given that particular person platform. Allow Jacob Zuma to speak, allow him to make his arguments, right? If people think that he captured the state, they won't vote for him. But at the point at which you begin to throttle attention, throttle leverage, it does seem as if the media houses themselves are beginning to play the game. I'm going to put it back to you. What do you think? Do you think that the media has fairly covered all of the political parties, ANC, EFF, Mkhonto weSizwe Party, Rise Mzansi, Build One South Africa, Freedom Front Plus, Action SA, ATM, all of the parties? Do you think that they've covered them fairly equally in the same manner with the same balance? Or do you think that you've seen preferences? Whenever I consume the media, I see some preferential treatment for some entities versus other entities. And for a long period of time, the media has participated in this game where certain abuses of power are overlooked, or they are undercut in terms of their significance, while others are exaggerated and blown out of proportion. When Helen Zille gave her child access to tablet computers, right, that was a massive violation of the office of the premier. But the media didn't give her the same scrutiny after the public protector found that she had violated, the code of ethics, and that she had acted in a way which is undue, because her son got benefits from her being the premier of the Western Cape that other people did not get. They said, no, listen, it's not a conflict of interest, it's a convergence of interest. I think that's playing with words. She didn't get the same media scrutiny because the public protector who said she had violated those rules was not a public protector who was favored. We all know how Phala Phala played out. Chief Justice Sandile Ngobo said in the Section 89 panel report that there were various violations of the law and the Constitution, and that the president had acted in a way that was not in line with his oath. That's not a Mickey Mouse person saying it. It's not me saying it. It's a former Chief Justice. And last time I checked, he was even lecturing at Harvard right now, right? In terms of a guest lecture or something. Look it up. He said that along with two other acclaimed legal minds, and his thoughts and his views, his legal views, as someone who was the Chief Justice of the Constitutional Court of South Africa, were buried. They were buried. But other people, as soon as Jabulani Kumalo says that, no, someone forged my signature, it's everywhere. Wah, 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 wah. Hey, who forged the signature? Wada, wada, wada. Even though there was no evidence provided that the signature was forged, even though the man was actually saying that Jacob Zuma is the leader in his own words on video in 4K. This video is not even in 4K. They caught that guy in 4K calling Jacob Zuma the leader, and that he was being given a lot of airtime. All I'm trying to put across to you is that some people get one form of treatment from the media. Other people get different forms of treatment. I for one, am always amused how much Paul Mashatile is hated by the media, whereas President Ramaphosa is loved by the media, but they're in the same party. They work together on a daily basis, the part of the same top six of the ANC. So there are some biases in the media. And this moment, I think, is one of those moments where we have to ask ourselves, honestly, is it fair for one party to have access to a large platform like Newsroom 48 hours before the election and another new party like MK not be given that platform? Is that fair? Is that fair? Is it fair? Let's have a conversation. Guys, don't forget to subscribe. We're almost at 100,000. We must touch 100,000. This is on the SMWX. We need to hit 100,000. Why? Because we are still some of the platforms that keep it real, that tell it to the streets like it is, because we don't care about all of these other dynamics. We never went to Stellenbosch to get anything. We don't care about any of these dynamics. We want to keep it real. We want to have a real conversation. And you guys, sometimes I think you forget because, you know, Dr. Sizwe Mpofu-Walsh, he doesn't tell you this often. That man has a PhD from Oxford. 2 books. Where's one? 1 book. 2 books. Come on, guys. Do you know people who've written 2 books? I don't even have a book. I don't even have a PhD. Guys, this is the platform. There are many voices. There are many people with these podcast mics. But there's only one SMWX. Yeah.